Now, what happens if I give you vertex form and I want to put it into standard form? So that just simply requires us to multiply everything back out. So my vertex form, as you can see, my A is positive 3. My H, that's technically an H value of positive 1. And then K is 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and we have 3. So this is the important part, because this is x minus 1 and it's x minus 1 squared, just like we put it back together squared. That means that we're going to expand it and we're going to write it 2 separate times. So why do we want to do that? Because now we're going to multiply these two pieces together. Now, I don't know how you learned how to multiply. You could use the full method, which is first, outer, inner, last, which is basically the distributive property. So we do x times x is going to give me x squared. That's the two first ones. The two outer pieces, so that's going to be negative 1x. Then we go to negative 1. We do the two inside pieces. And then we do negative 1 times negative 1, which are the two last pieces. So that's positive 1. And of course, we combine like terms, and I get x squared minus 2x plus 1. Now, I particularly like the box method just because it helps students multiply everything out, especially when you get bigger polynomials, because you can't use full unless it's a binomial, which is 2 terms. So this is x times x is x squared. X times negative 1 is negative 1x. Negative 1 times x is negative 1x. And then negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. And of course, you would combine like terms. That still gives me the same thing. So both are ways to multiply, just whichever one you prefer. So what does that mean? So we now are going to take what we just found and what we multiplied, and we're going to apply it back where it came from in the equation. So we got x squared minus 2x plus 1. Now, why would we want to do that? Because now we're going to distribute that a value. So when we distribute the a value, that means we're going to multiply the 3 to the x squared, the 3 to the negative 2x, and the 3 to the 1. So that's going to give me 3x squared minus 6x plus 3. And don't forget that plus 2 that's at the end. That didn't get distributed because it was outside the parentheses. And then finally, our last step is we're just going to combine those like terms, and that gives us a final quadratic of 3x squared minus 6x plus 5 in standard form. So again, the vertex form and the standard form are the same quadratic, they're just in 2 different formats. So vertex form and standard form are the same. As far as the quadratic goes, it's just in 2 different formats. All right, so now we're going to do some practice on giving vertex form, putting it back into standard form, which is simply just us multiplying it out. So remember, the squared means that there's 2 of those. So this is going to be negative 2 times x minus 6 times x minus 6 minus 3. Now, I'm going to use the box method for these. If you want to use the full method or just simply distributing, you are more than welcome to do that. So I'm going to multiply just the x minus 6 and the x minus 6 first. So this piece right here, or these 2 pieces. So we got x and negative 6, x and negative 6. So that's x squared minus 6x minus 6x. And then we have positive 36. So when I combine my like terms, that's going to give me, I'm going to put it back in the parentheses where the 2 were before. So that's going to be x squared minus 12x plus 36. And don't forget that minus 3 in there. And then we're going to distribute the negative 2. So when we distribute that negative 2, this is going to become negative 2x squared plus 24x minus 72 minus 3, and then combine those last pieces together. So negative 2x squared plus 24x, and then that's going to be minus 75. And again, you can check that and see if it graph matches and shows the same quadratic. Now, this one, very similar. The only thing that you need to make sure that you remember in a problem like this is the fact that that negative in front means that there is a -1 there. And we are going to need to distribute that -1 into the problem once we multiply it. So I got -1. This is going to be x minus 2 times x minus 2 minus 3. So we're going to multiply those two parentheses together. And once we multiply those two parentheses together, that's going to give us the quadratic, or the quadratic that we need to distribute the -2. So when I'm looking at this one, I got x and -2, x and -2. All right, so that's going to be x squared, -2x, -2x, and +4. So this is going to become x squared, combine those like terms to make it -4x, plus 4, minus 3. Distribute that -1 in there, so that's going to be -x squared, plus 4x, minus 4, minus 3. And then combine those final two like terms, so we got -x squared plus 4x, minus 7. All right, last example before we talk about some key features in vertex form. So we're going to multiply the x plus 5 times x plus 5 plus 18. So we're expanding that x plus 5, and we're going to multiply those two pieces together. So once we multiply those together, we'll distribute just like before, combine like terms, and the same exact process. So we have a positive x and a positive 5, x and 5. So that's going to be x squared. That's 5x, 5x, and 25. So that's going to give me 3 times, and we have x squared. We're going to combine like terms to make that 10x plus 25. And then plus 18. And then we're going to distribute. So 3 times x squared gives me 3x squared. 3 times 10x is 30x. And 3 times 25 is going to give me 75. And then we're going to combine those like terms, those last two numbers. And that's going to give me 3x squared plus 30x. And then 75 plus 18 is going to give me 93.